when I first went pro, they asked like what my goals were. And I was like, well, of course, the on the track goals are I want to win, medals. That's what the sport comes down to. You want to win medals. But I also want to, inspire and reach as many people as I can to be better people. That's really all I want to do is have people be better people, and it's working.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was the world champion himself, Cordell Tinch, back on the Running Effect podcast. It was a privilege to welcome Cordell back onto the show after he won the 110-meter World Championships in Tokyo, and he destroyed that race. He ran 12.99 to win his first World Championship. I've had Cordell on the podcast a few times where he's told his remarkable story from phone salesman thinking he would never participate in the sport of track and field again to getting back into it, winning multiple NCAA titles, becoming a professional with Nike, and now becoming the world champion. This is just the start for Cordell, and I really appreciated him giving me the time literally a week after the race, maybe not even that much. And so this conversation is a documentation of the thoughts and reflections of a world champion. I hope you guys enjoy it. If you do, hit the follow button so you don't miss more conversations like this in the future. Give us a 5-star review. It takes 3 to 5 seconds to do so. And make sure you share this podcast with a friend, because the easiest way in which we can grow is you sharing this with your community. With all those notes aside, enjoy my conversation with the one and only Mr. World Champion, Cordell Tinch. Ladies and gentlemen, he called his shot. He came through. He's back. Mr. World Champion, champion of the world, no longer a phone salesman that I know of, although I'm sure you could sell me a phone. Mr. Cordell Tinch, welcome back to the Running Effect podcast. Congrats, man.
Thanks. Thank you for having me back. Thank you again.
How you feeling, man? How's the crown feel?
It's finally setting in because I just made it back to Wisconsin, and being around the family and friends, it's finally settling in of like me accomplishing this. It took a while. It didn't feel real watching the rest of Worlds. It really didn't feel real watching that of like, oh yeah, I did win yesterday. Or I did win a few days ago. It just was odd. But I was still super, super, super excited. Like I felt like it's not like I I didn't talk a bunch, but it was more of like, I carried myself with the confidence that I would win. And so, throughout the whole year, so to be able to accomplish that was like big.
Something really cool and special about this track and field season, as opposed to other ones, is the season ends with the most important race, in my opinion. I don't know why. I don't know who makes these decisions, but previous years they'll have the Olympics, and then we'll have this Diamond League circuit and all that crap. Is it nice to end and just take a breath now, take your break, celebrate, be with friends and family, the people who made this special, and know that you brought it when it mattered most, and you didn't have to peak, 4 different times and then have some debate that you weren't at the Diamond League final and didn't win it. And yeah.
I personally think that it makes the most sense. I don't remember who I was talking to, but I was talking to somebody, and I said, I think that if they do it like that, I understand, sometimes it's X amount of countries for certain events, but I think that all the Diamond League and like World Athletics, they should do something where regardless, if you go win the Diamond League, then you automatically secure a spot for Worlds, regardless of if you made it for your team or not. I think that would make sense, but I also think it makes sense to end the season with the World Championships. It doesn't make sense to go to Worlds and then have 5 more races post Worlds. I really enjoyed the season being the way it is this year.
When did it start to set in? And Tokyo is such a long way from Wisco. What was the flight back like? Were you reflective? Were you trying to pass time? What was it like for you?
Oh, I just slept the whole way back. But I slept for most of it, but at the same time, having the box, because I obviously wasn't going to put my medal underneath. So just having the box, like, on my tray table,
You weren't letting that thing out of your sight.
Absolutely not. The cabin crew was asking, what is this? And then, explaining it. And so like then was cool, and just to be able to, talk to them, then getting back to Pitt, being honored by, the Pitt State football, or being honored at a Pitt State football game, and seeing the support within the town of Pitt, and understanding, it's a small town, but there's a lot of support. It was just as loud for them watching the race at halftime, and them seeing me down there as it had been for the game. Uh, so to see that support, it made it sink in some more. Um, and then, seeing my mom and my sisters, seeing them, that made it set in a whole lot more.
What does it mean to be kind of a beacon of light and hope for the communities you come from? It's not normal for them to have a world champion, come from Pitt, or, Wisconsin isn't necessarily known as the state that produces world championship level hurdlers. How cool is it to be one of those guys that you can look and you can think, okay, the next generation, I might hear 15, 20 years down the line of more people who did this because of me.
It's fantastic. Like, that's the amount of people that I've realized that I have, whether it's I've inspired them, whether I've motivated them, the amount of people that have reached out to me or reached out to somebody that I know and said, what Cordell's doing is so inspirational, and the fact that he's doing this makes me want to do this. Or people that are getting back into track, they said that I gave it up, but like seeing that you're giving this perspective, like, it makes me want to get back into it. Obviously, I don't think just because you take a break you're going to end up a world champ, but to see that is very special to me. And I remember I think I had said it in like an interview in Pitt, when I first went pro. They asked like what my goals were, and I was like, well, of course, the on the track goals are, I want to win, medals. That's what the sport comes down to. You want to win medals, but I also want to be able to, inspire and reach as many people as I can to, just be better people. Be like, that's really all I want to do, is have people be better people, and it's working.
When you look at track and field throughout the years, there are many cool stories, but I think yours would be on the Mount Rushmore of them. I'm assuming now you appreciate some of the parts of your story looking back, where maybe 2, 3 years ago you beat yourself up and you thought, oh, I wish I would have stuck with it, or I wish I had the year. Now I'm sure in hindsight you're like, man, this is one hell of a story. Some publishing companies might start reaching out one day for me to write that book. How cool is your story, your own story to yourself?
It's I think that's the most like surprising part of, like, when people realize, when they do their digging and they want to do interviews or whatever, and they're like, oh, so we saw that you did this and this, and I'm like, how did you know that? Like, so to realize that, like, I literally used to be so far removed from the sport, and giving it the shot to come back, and now that I'm back and I'm, the best hurdler in the world, it like is insane in my, like, for me to process that still. But I completely am thankful that I was able to have that time off. I had said it right after the race that I just genuinely don't think that I don't think that I am who I am. I don't think that, I'm the motivation for people, the inspiration for people, if I continue with track back then, just because I didn't know how to handle a lot of things. But, all that time off got me to be here, and now I'm thankful.
What interaction post race meant the most to you? Was it your mom, coach, someone else?
I think that directly post race, it was tough. My phone wasn't. I don't know what was going on with my phone, so I wasn't able to call my mom till the following day. But honestly, me, Orlando, my his agent, my agent, like, we always we're cordial and see each other all the time around. When we're on the circuit, and seeing the excitement for Orlando, of like me knowing how he is, like, on the circuit, um, seeing him get a medal was fantastic. being able to just interact with the stadium, the victory lap was definitely, you know, was something that obviously I don't think I've ever. I think that Eugene was the only other place that I've taken a victory lap. Um, After USA's when I made my first team, and so like taking that lap made it set in a decent amount just because the whole stadium was still packed. Obviously, we were last event at 10:30 at night, 10:40 at night, whatever it was, and to take a lap there and see all the support in the stands was insane.
What does it feel like to now be home, back in the States? Tokyo's so far, different time zone. When you're awake, we're asleep, the whole 9 yards. Is it nice to catch your breath? And how do you celebrate this properly?
First, it was just a matter of sit around my sisters, and just be happy about what I did. But being back in the States was fantastic. But I think the best part is, as we were talking about earlier, the fact that the season was over with the big meet. I think that sometimes there's like a little bit of a hangover after of like the big meet, and then you have to run more. So being able to come home and just relax and just, hey, I want to go do this, I want to go do that, like, and just have the ability to and not have more races is fantastic. So I'm thankful to be back in the States, back in Wisconsin.
I don't want to jump the gun. I don't want to get off track, talk too soon, but we talked the first time we ever spoke with each other back in 2023. I was some nobody podcaster. You were slowly starting to maybe make your way into the pro world. You just had that performance at NCAA's. Okay, you ever going to join the NFL? You ever going to join the Packers? How do you feel about this? Because you don't, I'm sure you want to win in LA. You want to chase the Olympic title, but you're on the top of the sport right now. Jordan Love could use some more options. I don't like how we looked against the Browns this past weekend. How do we feel?
Everybody has an off day. But, Jaden did break his collarbone. So I think, they did not. Of course, that I've been asked that a couple times. And, like, I definitely, part of me is like, I'd do it. But at the same time, I think I'm just going to continue to ride the wave of track and field. But at the same time, if my phone rings, I'm going to answer the phone. We'll look into it. But as of now, I think that, being where I'm at, I think that hurdles is taking me places and has a lot of people reaching out and motivated. So we'll stick with this for as long as it goes.
I think going into this season, and I believe I said this in our podcast earlier on in the year, like the 110 hurdles for the men is one of the hardest events to crack into that world champion or Olympic champion spot. Specifically with Grant, I asked you, what's it going to take to beat Grant Holloway? You said, one word, Cordell Tinch. You backed that up. What was behind a lot of the motivation? Like, you always grow up, or you play basketball, so you'll get this. You grow up with kids on the playground who talk shit, and you're a pro at talking shit, but you'll never back it up. And then there are those guys that they say something, and you're like, okay, you have the personality where you'd say something, but you're smart enough that you have a good chance at backing it up. When you would say some comments like those, or even to yourself, where was that belief coming from that you could take this leap in your career?
It honestly, I think that it all started last year. Last year when we were in Xiamen for the Diamond League, and they had, like, in the elevators, they had like a small little like TV basically, and they were playing the race from the year before and the year before. And every time I got in the elevator, I felt like I had seen myself losing the hurdle race from the year before. And I had told my agent, I said, look, the next time we come back here, because I knew it was going to be one of the first meets of the year. And I said, when we come back, I'm going to win this because I'm tired of watching myself lose. And it was more of just like making sure I was ready when the season started. But I also think I had adjusted to being a pro. My coach had adjusted to coaching a pro. And like all of that, it just kind of everything came together at once. We were healthy all year because I believe I make the team if I was healthy. I make the pairs team if I was healthy. but injuries are a part of the sport, so didn't make that team. So obviously there's a little bit extra motivation when most people, if they're not track fans, which thankfully a lot of people that support me now actually pay attention to more than just the Olympics, but to miss that team and have a bunch of people be like, oh, so like you're not going to the Olympics, and it's like, oh, and having to explain that repeatedly, I was like, I'm going into this next year and we're leaving no doubts about anything. And I think that was just a big part of the mindset coming into the year. And then we start off the year in China. Well, we started in Kingston, but starting off in China basically with, a statement to start the year. I just kind of, after running that fast, I knew we've got to back it up all season, because I said it multiple times that running fast in May to, whether it was miss the final or miss the podium or whatever it is, running fast in May to then not leave with a gold medal would have been just kind of a waste of a season. So it was also more of a, obviously I wasn't running to not lose, but at the same time it was like we've done a lot this season. Let's finish it the same way we started it.
What were the nerves on the starting line? Different from normal? Similar? How'd you handle it? How'd you handle the pressure in the moment?
No, it really, a lot of people, I guess, like when I watched the broadcast back. Apparently I was shaking out a bunch of nerves that I didn't know I had, according to the announcers, but
they always know more than the athlete, right?
Just so much more. But the first round, it was more of the difference in the humidity, like threw a lot of us off. Going like even from the warm-up track to the stadium, like it felt like we were in two completely different places as far as like how it felt. So like getting there was more of just making sure, we qualify for the next day, of course. But I really wasn't nervous in a sense. It just kind of treated like another race, like any other race. Because I remember when I was in Budapest, when I walked out for the first round there, and I looked up and around, and then the heart was thumping a little bit, hands were a little bit more sweaty. Where like this one, it just felt like, we're supposed to be here. We're here to do a job, here to get things done. So just walking out there, treated like another meet, and it showed.
What's the resounding message you want the listener today at home or the person on the other side of the TV, back home in the U.S. when you were competing in Tokyo? What's the message that you want this race and this career and this legacy you've now left to resonate with the person watching or listening?
I think that the message I'm gonna go with is, don't be afraid to, take an abnormal path to get to where you want to go. Sometimes there's lessons that you got to go down one trail, learn those before you can get back on that main trail, because there's something ahead that you wouldn't have known how to cross if you didn't go down that other one. But also just finding happiness within yourself, within those around you, is something that's big, because it's big in our sport with how mental track and field is. But, just being happy, being good people is what we all want to be. Everybody expects being competitors that, you dislike one another, where as long as I'm winning. No, I'm just kidding. But, seeing other people do well within your sport when you're out there giving it your all, just being happy for one another, being good people is fantastic.
If you don't have a response, totally fine. But on a more fun level, world champ comes with, I think, some bonuses, some different things. Have we thought about any potential world champion new purchases, or no? We staying humble out here.
My car, I'm getting a new car.
Okay. What are we thinking?
Well, I guess a lot of people actually know. No, I'm getting a Z06. A Corvette.
What brand is that? Oh, Corvette. Nice.
Yes, so I'm getting that. We'll figure out when, after the dust settles, more of me going home and, being around the family first, and then eventually, I'll get around to going and sitting down at the dealership and figuring that out. But yeah, I've been looking at it but I've been looking at it for like a year, and it was more of
Nice.
like, well, I'll figure out when I kind of want to get it, but now, yeah, it's kind of tough to not go get it after, doing everything, winning everything that you wanted to win and doing everything you were supposed to during your season. So
Right.
that'll be the only big purchase. Other
Are
than
you a
that,
big
we will
car
be
guy?
saving. Not really.
No.
I don't really know much about cars.
No.
I just like
Dude,
the
wait
way
till you
some
get
Ford
that. Wait till your phone's listening right now. Wait till you go on Instagram Reels and you're gonna start seeing these car edits, and then it'll get you into it. Because I grew up and I was not really a car guy at all. Like, I had the Hot Wheels or whatever with the racetracks, but like, yeah, as a little boy, I didn't know what Porsche was. I didn't know what Lamborghini was or Ferrari. And I think the more I've grown up, the more I've appreciated like, oh, but I find with humans, it's more, um, we like having something to strive for or chase for. So I'm a big Porsche guy, and it's like, do I actually love Porsche? No, I can't say that because I've never driven one. So who am I to say it's I? But I love the thought of like being at the income level or the type of person who has a Porsche. And that's where human psychology is hilarious. It's like, do we
Yes.
want the nice thing because it's actually really nice, or do we want the nice thing because it's nice and then we feel a certain way about ourselves, or other people think a certain way about us because we have it? I don't know.
It's I definitely see that. I I think I'm more of I love the journey to get to whatever it is. And obviously there's like it's almost like a milestone marker of
Right.
the journey of where you got and how did you celebrate. That's more of I think for me versus the like, I got something nice and now I feel better. Like I enjoy the process so much.
Totally. I think that's important too, because high achievers, I think one of their downfalls is they always are looking to the next thing. And so they find it hard to celebrate. It's like, oh, I'll get this, or I'll do this, or I'll celebrate in this way, or I'll take off time like after I went back to back, or after I set this record, or this thing, or it's always the next. And I think that's like a quick path to get to the end of your career, look back and be like, man, I never celebrated the big moments when I should have. And that's where if you're a young athlete listening, like, hey, you might want to win an NCAA title one day, but it starts with winning state titles. And if you win a state title, celebrate that, whatever that
Exactly.
looks like.
You got to celebrate all the wins. Celebrate the big wins, the little wins. Celebrate them all the same. And I think that finding they're keeping that humility of not thinking that a certain win is worth less because it was here or there. Like being able to celebrate it all allows you to enjoy the journey to get to your end goals.
I always think winning is just cool in general. Like whether it's at a dual meet and you think you should win, or world championships, it's like to be able to state like I'm the best person here at this event. It's like I think a lot of people undermine it.
Exactly.
For you, was there a moment growing up, middle school track, or high school or college, or, this comeback tour that you like, when was the first point you realized looking back, okay, I have the skills, the mindset, the dedication to potentially be world champion or Olympic champion one day?
I personally don't remember exactly when, but I know when I was younger.
2 weeks
Um,
ago?
no, a little bit longer than that. But when I was younger, I don't remember saying it, but I told my parents I wanted to be an Olympic champion one day. So, I don't know if I was 10, 11, but young. That was something that I had said. But like, in all honesty, none of what I'm doing now had set in up until I think I turned pro. Like I didn't ever have the thought that I could, like I didn't see the path to getting to where I am, up until I finally, put ink to paper and became a Nike athlete. And then I was like, well, if I've had a lot of people believing in me, so it's about time for me to believe in myself. Um, so that was probably when I realized it. But those that have been around me and have seen me as an athlete, whether it was flag football, travel football, basketball, track, there's a lot of people that believed that whatever sport I would end up doing, I would find a way to be great.
They saw you had that dog in you, which is why if you go to the
That's-
Packers one day, you could bring home the chip. That's what I'm saying. Before we get to Packers talk, final serious question for you. Two questions in one. First part, what's the takeaway message for the listener today? And to that, off of that, what can people, fans of you who are listening today, expect to see from you in the future?
Um, Takeaway, I think we'll stick with, being good people. That's what, like, I really learned it, like a lot of people this year that I spoke to, just because I was real quiet on the circuit before, but a lot of people are like, you're way like, so like when you're sitting alone, you look angry, but like you're way nicer than I was expecting. I was like, wait, why do I look angry? So like, just kind of being good people, whether it's simple smiles at people that are walking by, but just be good people because the world spins a little faster when we're all nice to one another. Um, and then what was the second part? Sorry.
Yeah, well, fans of you listening today, what can they expect to see from Cordell Tinch in the future?
Um, there's, I actually had a call today. I don't think I can say anything yet about that, but there are big things on the way. Something that surprised me, the phone call I had today. So, um, we'll see me doing things, stepping out of my comfort zone. Um, but we'll see big things coming, and hopefully we'll continue, to ride this wave into the next season and into the next season and carry it to the Olympics.
Was it the Packers GM?
No
Still waiting on that
comments.
call. Still waiting on that
No
one.
comment.
Final question for you on the Packers because it's a theme. I'm a Packers fan. You're a Packers fan. What's the outlook on the season? 2-0. People are saying world champs, Super Bowl champs. Then they come to my home state of Ohio. I'm not a Browns fan. They lose in disgusting fashion. I'm a Packers fan, and I was watching that. I was like, I hope they lose. To be humble, this is embarrassing.
It was
How
a
do you feel
bad
about
game.
them? What's the
I
outlook?
feel overall as a team, I think that the pressure of being undefeated, I'm honestly, in a sense, glad we lost, just because it becomes more and more of, I think it becomes a big pressure thing of that. Plus, it's rare that a team goes undefeated in the regular season, they end up winning anyways. So we didn't want to be undefeated, um, but I like the way the team looks. Jordan's finally coming around to the quarterback that I believe, and I think he's got the trust in the receivers, trust in Josh, trust in the O line. The defense is fantastic. Don't know how Jerry allowed Michael Parsons to come to Green Bay, Wisconsin, but shout out Jerry Jones. So, the defense is amazing. The offense, I enjoy watching them. So I have excitement for the team. Obviously, the hope every year as a fan is you want your team to win a title. But again, I just want to I want to make it to the playoffs, win a few games, and we'll go from there. Just because we got to get to the playoffs, and let's hope that everybody stays healthy. We already lost Jaden for a couple weeks, so as long as we stay healthy, I think that they can do big things.
All I'm saying is, this guy over here is not getting any younger. And I want a Super Bowl in my life because I was a Steelers fan growing up in PA when the Packers beat them. So I came over to the better side once they got their asses handed to them, and I have yet to live a life with the Packers winning a Super Bowl. That the cheesehead needs to be dusted off. So yeah, but it's so fun. I love football. Like there's nothing like fall for me. Like tomorrow, man, you see that list of college football games? If you're going to a wedding, cancel it. That's what they're saying. Are
I
you a college
actually
football fan?
No, not really. I enjoy going to college games. Like I couldn't care who's playing, but I like going to college football games. But I've never really been a big college football watcher. Like I'll watch the college football playoff, but that's about it. Um,
Interesting.
I'm more of a college basketball person though. Like I watch a lot of college basketball.
It's fair. March Madness is peak. Well, if you need a
Yes.
team to root for, the world champion Ohio State Buckeyes, we'll have you. We'll have you. This is actually a fun story. You're like, hell no.
I
Fun
can't do
story.
that
I'd
one.
never gone to a college football game, and I lived in Austin for 10 months, and now I live in Columbus, and my grandparents lived in Columbus growing up, so we'd come here a lot. And so my two favorite teams are Ohio State and Texas. So it's like, I got to go. So my first ever college football game was OSU Texas 1-2 at the shoe in Columbus, 107,000 people. It was crazy. So yeah, it was a fun
Sounds crazy.
experience. Yeah. Well, Cordell, congratulations, man. Thanks for taking the time chop it up on the podcast, and kick your feet up, enjoy it, go get that Mustang. Don't drive too fast, like you're a Chiefs player, and we'll come back on the podcast here soon. Appreciate you, man.
No, of course. Thank you for having me again.